Hi, my name is Jeff Tim, and I'm going to be here today talking with you about a large ArcGIS enterprise deployment. There's lots of things that go into this, and I have 9 main points I want to cover to help you understand how this works. First point I want to cover is understanding the components of the ArcGIS portal environment. I want to talk about laying the groundwork for all the infrastructure. I want to talk about the architecture design. I'm also going to talk about deployment of the software once we get all that groundwork done. And then configuration, user management, testing, documentation, and finally, the release of the production portal environment. The first topic, again, is understanding the components of the portal environment. I have a visual aid here for you to show you the different aspects of it. We have part of the enterprise portal environment is the portal itself, web adapter, ArcGIS server, and the data store. All of those items show the different components that you have to put together for a portal to run. Different ways to install that is even on a single machine or multiple machines, depending on the scope and the breadth of your environment. But prior to doing anything with that, you have to lay the groundwork for all of this stuff. The groundwork includes so many things. It includes the network, the firewalls, the databases, file storage, configuration, subnets, security, the desktop clients. There's lots of different things that go into setting up prior to even looking at what you're going to do with the enterprise itself. When you have all that groundwork laid, you then can start working on your enterprise architecture. You have all the VMs in place, you have your subnets in place, you have your security in place. At that point in time, you can start designing. When you design your architecture, there's 4 main components, as I talked about earlier. There's a web adapter, there's a portal, there's the servers, and then there's the data store. The web adapter is where you come in with your environment that talks with the outside world. Web adapter talks with your portal server and also your ArcGIS servers, as they call them. And it's the gateway, or a proxy, if you will, for all your other servers. The portal is basically the hub of the architecture. Everything runs through that portal. It's the manager, if you will, of all the data. It communicates with your servers and your data store to supply this information and help your developers create web applications and consume REST services. Once we have this architecture all put together and designed and all our groundwork laid, we then can worry about deploying this software. The software deployment, there's a redundant thing. The software deployment software is called Chef. Chef actually is deployed on a Linux box, and it holds a repository of scripts that you can then deploy your software with. You spin up you have all your virtual servers spun up. Then from your Chef server, you have to bootstrap to those VMs that you're deploying the software on. You have the executables stored on the servers themselves. Run it from your desktop using Chef DK, using knife commands. I can get in that deeper at another time, but now we're just going to cover 100-foot level. Once you've done all that deployment, which may take a while, but you have all your Chef scripts that make it repeatable so you can install with the same configuration, the same criteria on each server. you have to do your post configuration with your portal. There are several different interfaces for your post configuration. You have your home portal front page, which is the basic configuration setups. You have, well, I have a visual aid for this as well. You have your portal admin directory, and you also have your sharing rest directory, which is more of your service configuration. Knowing how to work with all these different configurations is very important. There's plenty of documentation out there from ArcGIS or Esri to go off of, but there's lots of different ways to configure this depending on what you need. Once you have all that configured, you still have to worry about user management. User management is how you let people into your portal based on group security and your Active Directory. In ours, for example, we use Azure Active Directory to create user accounts and to give those individual users the right permissions to each item or resource on the portal. This can all be done by Active Directory. So if you're in a certain group, you can give that certain group a role within the portal, as in publisher or editor, or some other users would just be viewers. Once you have all this done, obviously you're going to be doing this initially in your testing environment. The testing environment is very important when it comes to doing enterprise level items. You have to make sure all your workflows work. You have to have your users test on their publishing and their editing, and their web applications are all developed and then put in the testing environment before they're put into the production environment. Things can change within the testing and development environments, but you have to be very careful once you're in your production. After all this is said and done, all this stuff needs documented. Documentation is very important when it comes to any portal deployment. When you have many users, you want them to be doing the things the same way. You want them to be doing repeatable functions. If there's variances in the way people do things, things can break. We have to have documents on naming conventions, documents on where to go when you need help, how to put tickets in if there's an issue, and the best practices even on how to develop web applications and expose your service REST endpoints. Once you've had all that documentation done and the various testing is in place, you're ready to release your production enterprise portal. But you're not done. When that goes into place, there's lots of stuff you have to worry about yet. We have branding, we have the announcements to do. We have to make sure that there's like a press release so everybody is ready for this portal to come out. Anytime there's in a production environment, you have to have change management. We can't change things without having meetings or discussing what the implications or impacts of this change will be on the web applications that are there. And we have to train everyone on this production environment. Training is important. We want them to know where all these documents are, what is expected of them on the user endpoint, where to go if they need resources, how to run the software itself. And finally, when you have an enterprise portal, we're going to be switching gears from ArcMap to ArcPro. You can no longer use ArcMap to publish any services to the production portal as you could with the old ArcGIS servers. So there will be also a learning curve on learning ArcGIS Pro. But the possibilities with this enterprise system is huge. It makes it very easy for web developers to create new websites in fun and exciting ways, story maps, Workflow 5, and other interesting things you can do with this. This also works with many other softwares you can embed into other websites. This makes GIS a very powerful tool for people beyond the GIS professional world. I'd like to thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it.